Hi guys, it's Laura. Thanks for watching and welcome back to my channel. Today it's gonna be a very beginner-friendly tutorial. We will make together this pillowcase. It's super easy, as I said, absolutely beginner-friendly. You don't need any pattern. All you need is a measuring tape and the fabric and obviously a sewing machine and thread and so on. But I think you know what I mean. Anyway, I will show you how I created the pattern, how I made the pillowcase. And the great thing about this tutorial is that once you will be able to make this pillow, you will also be able to make your own bed sheets, because the only difference between this lounge pillow and the regular pillow that you use when you go to sleep and the blanket is the measurements. Other than that, it's exactly the same principle. So if that's something you're interested in, then please keep watching. So here we have the pillow that I want to make the pillowcase for. This is a standard IKEA lounge pillow. It's 50 centimeters times 50, which is 19.5 inches if I'm not mistaken. Now, if you have a pillow where you are not sure about the measurements, the best thing you can do is to grab the pillow, straighten the seam on one side and measure it, and then measure the other side if it's not a perfect square. But I don't have to do that in this case because first of all, I already know the measurements, and second, this is a square. But if it were a rectangle, you would have to measure both sides, and then you would know what the finished size of the pillowcase should be. Now that we know the measurements, I was able to cut the fabric back so that I would have the correct width. So when I straighten out the seam, the side seam of the pillow, you can see that we have some extra on the sides for the seam allowance. And the next thing we will do is we will wrap the pillow into the fabric, because we want to have a pillowcase without any zipper or buttons. So what I want is that on one side the pillowcase is going to go a little bit over, and on the other side I will have the full size of the pillow folded inwards, something like this. Now, I don't need to fold it here that much inwards, so I think I'm just gonna cut it somewhere here. So I'm gonna put pin in, and again, this is very easy because we have a fabric with a pattern where we have clear lines, so I don't have to put the pin here on the other side. I'm just gonna cut it right there. This is gonna be the leftover fabric, so again I will have the pillow wrapped here like so, and then the pillowcase is gonna go over like so, and then I will sew it on the sides. And now we will make a nice edging on both ends. So I will fold here the fabric towards this line. This is about 1 centimeter, and then I fold it once more. I will put a pin in it, and I will do it everywhere here, and then I will sew through with a straight stitch. I will do the same on the other side of the strip of fabric. Now, right now I am pinning the fabric at an angle, because that way I can leave the pins inside when I will be sewing through. So now both edges are ready, so I will go to my sewing machine and I will sew through very close to the edge here with a straight stitch. Let's have a look at the fabric placement for sewing. So I will make sure that when I put down the sewing foot, that the right edge of the sewing foot will be aligned with the right edge of the fabric. And now I have to take care of the needle because it's a little bit too far to the left, and I would be sewing way too close around this edge. And if I would accidentally move the fabric, then it could happen that I would be sewing a little bit too far and it wouldn't go through the edging. So I will move the needle 2 points to the right. Now when I lower it, I see this is far enough, and now I can start sewing. And while I am sewing, I always make sure that the fabric still stays aligned with the right edge of the sewing foot. And here's what the seam looks like. I have decided to use for the bottom red thread because I have some leftover red thread on my bobbin, so I wanted to use it up. And since for this fabric you can use either beige or white or red thread, it doesn't matter that I don't use the same color from the top and from the bottom. This is a great way how to use up some leftover thread that you still have on bobbins. Alright, so here we have again the fabric for our pillowcase. Both ends are now sewn through. They have a nice edging, and I have to account for the fact that the pillow is a little bit puffy, so it's like not flat 50 times 50. So when I measure how big the pillowcase is supposed to be, I add just a little bit extra. So the 50 centimeters are 19.5 inches. So I'm gonna make it 20 inches big, and I will put here a pin in, and I will do the same on the other side. Now again, we have a pattern here, so that makes it a little bit easier. And this is how I will fold the fabric now, like so. I will fold it so that now the wrong side is facing up, and I will align the sides perfectly. I will do the same here on the other side. I hope you can see it. So we will make sure that everything is perfectly straight. So I will put the pin in here like so, so that the fabric wouldn't accidentally slide. And I will also pin it here in the middle, and then I will straighten everything as nicely as possible. And now I will fold this thing, this side, so that I will see the right side, like so. And I will align it with the edge here. And that should be the correct size for our pillow. See? Now I will take a guide and I will make a nice straight line on this side. I'm using a regular pencil because the fabric is pretty light and it's more visible than the crayon that I have, because I have a white crayon. And I know that all sides should be the same length, so I will basically grab my measuring tape and I go over to the other side and make a mark where I should be sewing. And that should be here. And then I will measure the same distance on the other side. I will make a mark here. And then I will simply connect these two marks. And here you have the line where you should be sewing. You can place the pillow on the top of the fabric just to be sure that the measurements are right. And now, since both sides are already pinned together, I will go to the sewing machine and I will sew here with a straight stitch. And then I will use zigzag for the edging so that the fabric wouldn't fray. So I placed the fabric and made sure that the needle is aligned with the line where I'm supposed to sew through. And then I note that here the fabric goes a little bit over the edge to the right, and this is how I want to keep the fabric while sewing. So let's do this. My machine always does the sew up first, and let's sew through. Here on this side the distance is a little bit bigger, but there are these lines here on the sewing table, and I will align simply the fabric with these lines. And it says 2 here, so this should be like 2 centimeters from the needle. So I'm just gonna stay there, and that should help me. Now on the side where I had a little bit more fabric, I cut the fabric a little bit back, the excess fabric. Now I will place the fabric so that the right edge faces the inside edge of the sewing foot, and I will set my machine to a zigzag stitch. I will make the zigzag stitch as wide as possible, and the length will be on my sewing machine 1.8. And now I will start edging. And here's what the edge looks like now. This is from one side where I have used the white thread, and this is from the other side. And of course, I will do the same edging also on the other side. So this is what the pillowcase looks like so far, when it's still turned to the wrong side. Now I will turn it to the right side. Now I will shape the edges on this side, and here where I have the folded fabric, I will align the edges nicely, and I will put a pin on each side about ½ an inch from the edge. So here I put the pins in, and I will sew very close to the edge, just this short little distance on both sides, so that the ends will stay in place. So now this is sewn through just ½ an inch, and I will put the pillow now inside of the pillowcase. So here we have the opening. I will put the pillow inside like so. And now I will place it underneath the folded fabric and straighten everything nicely. And if you want to, you could sew on here on two places, two little plastic press buttons, so that this would look a little bit neater, but you don't have to. And here we have our simple pillowcase. Now, if you want this to stay nicely closed, you can sew through the edge a little bit further. I have done it now, and I put 2 pins here in the middle, and this is where I will sew on 2 little plastic press buttons, and then you will see that everything will look even neater. But you could leave it as it was before, but this is just a step further. So I took the pillow out of the case. Let's have a look at the details again. So now I have sewn a little bit further through, so this is how far I went. This is about 2 inches, and I pinned the case, the edge of the case now together, because I want to mark the places for the press buttons. So I'm just gonna fold the upper edge in the middle, and I want to have 2 press buttons. That should do. So I will place them somewhere around here. So I will put 1 pin through, and then I will put another pin through exactly where the pin went through the fabric from the other side. And now I will pull the fabric apart, and when I place it on the table again, I have 2 pins in the same distance. Now I'm gonna open it a little bit and put a pin here again through, so that I know where the other side of the press button should be. Let's do the same here. Now I have my marks. So you can leave the pins in, or what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab a pen and make a little dot here, so I know where the pin is supposed to go. The press button is supposed to go. And I will start sewing them on. Now the plastic press buttons that I'm going to be using are these. These are very simple, and they are clear, so they are barely visible, so I need only 2 pieces. So I have sewn the press buttons on this side. Now let's move on to the place on this folded fabric. Here I have to go through with my hand and pull the thread from the inside, and I have to make sure that I will be sewing only on 1 layer of the fabric. and now I have sewn both sides on, and here's what it looks like. So I personally like this version better because then it stays neater when the pillow is inside. So let's put the pillow in. So already when this has been sewn in a little bit further, it looks a little bit better, but I personally think that adding 2 press buttons wouldn't hurt, because then this line is definitely neater however you put the pillow on your sofa or on your bed. I made a sketch of our bed sheets so that we can discuss shortly how I would make them. So hopefully this is going to be helpful. Now, the pillow size and the blanket size is pretty much the European standard, but please keep in mind that these measurements can differ from wherever you live. So we have one standard sized pillow and we have also one smaller pillow. Then we have 2 of these blankets. The standard width of fabric in Europe is usually 1.5 meters. That's about 59 inches. That's going to be important when we're going to calculate how much fabric we would need for this. So the blankets are 74.5 inches times 53 inches. In centimeters, 188 centimeters times 135 centimeters. That would be the blanket case. And we would again fold one side a little bit more inwards, just like we did with the pillowcase. So we would have to add, let's say, like 20 centimeters, and the seam allowance, obviously. Then we have here the big pillowcase, that's 35 inches times 27 inches, 90 centimeters times about 69 centimeters, rounded up just a little bit. The small pillow that we have, or I have, is 30 inches times 14 inches, which is 77 centimeters times 36 centimeters. So if I calculate it correctly, I would need about 8.5 meters for the blankets and about 2.2 meters for the pillowcases. And that sums up to 10.7 meters. Let's say we could say 11 meters. And if that was 150 centimeters wide fabric, that should be enough for this. Now, in yards, it's about 12 yards of fabric, which you would need if the fabric is about 60 inches wide or like 59 inches wide. So I hope that this is going to be helpful. Now, when you make blanket cases, I would definitely suggest, if you're gonna do it the same way we made the pillowcase, I would definitely add a few press buttons there so that it's gonna stay nicely closed. And I would sew in on the sides here about, like, let's say 3 inches here. And I think like 5 press buttons should be good enough. For the big pillowcase, I would make the folded side inwards on the shorter side. It's always the best to make it on the shorter side because then it won't open that much. And I would sew in about 2 inches on the sides, and then I would use like 3 press buttons, maybe even 4. You could then tell what looks better to you. For the small pillow that I have, again, folded fabric on the side, I think 2 of the press buttons would be enough, and I would sew in probably 1.5 inches here. So that's how I would make the bed sheet. Well, and since it is almost Christmas, I have decided to give this pillowcase, including the pillow, away. So as usual, I am hosting the giveaway via Rafflecopter. So there's a link in the description box that you have to click on, and it's going to lead you to the pages of Rafflecopter where you can register. I will let the giveaway run till midnight, 24th of December. And all other details are written down below in the description box. And I will announce the winner on the 25th of December on my Instagram account, MontbergTV, which is also linked down below. So if you decide to try your luck and take part in this giveaway, then I wish you good luck. So that's how I made this pillowcase. As I said, I personally prefer the version with the press buttons. And also, if you would want to make your own bed sheets, you would definitely need press buttons for the bottom of the case for your blanket. And I think it would be also nicer if you would have at least 2 or 3 press buttons on the case for your sleeping pillow. So that's it for today's. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, as usual, don't forget to give the video a thumb up because you help my channel a lot with that. If you have any questions, please write them down below in the comments. I would be also very happy if you would subscribe to my channel if you didn't yet. And I will link down below my playlist Sewing for Beginners and some other things that might be either interesting or useful for you. And thank you all so much for watching. I love you guys so much and see you soon. Bye!